She saw the human's daily routine and started looking at him differently. The twin suns of planet Kazira burned low on the horizon, casting long shadows across the barren wastelands. Ryla wiped sweat from her blue-skinned forehead with the back of her hand, leaving a smudge of red dust in its wake. Her silver-braided hair glinted in the fading light, swaying gently against her back as she carefully examined the ground beneath her feet. "Nothing here either," she muttered, pushing herself up from her crouched position. Her voice was lost in the whistle of the hot wind that constantly swept across the vast emptiness of the Badlands. The collection pouch at her waist remained disappointingly light, only a few mineral samples to show for a full day's scavenging. Ryla checked her wrist device. Oxygen levels were fine, but water reserves were dropping faster than she'd like. Soon she would need to return to the settlement. The thought made her shoulders slump. Another day, another failure to find anything valuable enough to improve her standing among her people. She kicked at the rust-colored earth in frustration, sending a small cloud of dust into the air. The particle mass covering her nose and mouth filtered out the worst of it, but she could still taste the metallic tang of Kazira's soil. As she turned to begin the long trek home, something caught her eye. A peculiar shimmer beneath the dirt revealed where her boot had disturbed the ground. Curiosity sparked. Ryla knelt down. Using her small excavation tool, she carefully brushed away the sand. The object was buried deeper than she initially thought, and as more of it became visible, her pulse quickened. It wasn't the mineral deposit she had been searching for. It was something else entirely. "What are you?" she whispered, her violet eyes widening as she freed the object from its earthen prison. In her hands lay an oval-shaped stone, roughly the size of her two palms together. But it wasn't a stone at all. It pulsed with an inner light that seemed to shift and change color, from amber to crimson to a deep purple, in a slow, rhythmic pattern. "This can't be real," Ryla breathed, brushing off the last specks of dust. The surface was smooth and warm, almost hot to the touch. As she turned it in her hands, she realized with a start what she was holding. It's an egg, and inside it, visible through the semi-translucent shell, coiled like living flame, was a creature from legend, a baby dragon. Ryla's heart hammered against her ribs. "Dragons were wiped out in the galactic cleansing thousands of years ago," she whispered to herself, recalling the stories her grandmother used to tell by the glow of their home's heating unit. Tales of great beasts that flew between stars, of the empire that had hunted them to extinction for fear of their power. The egg glowed brighter as she cradled it, and she felt a distinct pulse against her skin, a heartbeat stronger and faster than before. "Are you alive in there?" she whispered, a mixture of awe and disbelief coloring her voice. "How did you survive? How did you end up here of all places?" The skies above suddenly rumbled with the distinctive sound of engines. Ryla's head snapped up, her moment of wonder shattered by cold dread. The familiar dark shapes of military drones appeared, silhouetted against the amber sky. Zentaur patrols. Panic flooded her system. The Zentaur Empire ruled Kazira with an iron fist, harvesting its resources and subjugating its people. Their interest in artifacts and ancient technology was well known and ruthless. If they found her with this egg, they would take it, study it, dissect it, or worse, destroy it if they recognized what it truly was. Ryla acted on instinct. She wrapped the egg in her thermal cloak and tucked it securely against her chest. Without a backward glance, she ran, keeping low to the ground, using the rocky outcroppings for cover. The egg pulsed against her, almost as if it sensed her fear. "I won't let them find you," she promised, her breath coming in short gasps as she pushed her body to its limits. "I won't let them hurt you." As she fled, the twin suns finally slipped below the horizon, plunging the wastelands into darkness. In the distance, the patrol drones continued their sweep, searchlights cutting through the gathering dusk, hunting for anything unusual. Anything like the impossible treasure Ryla now carried close to her heart. By nightfall, Ryla's legs burned with exertion. She had run much farther than she had ever ventured before, deep into the no-go zone marked on settlement maps. Here, the landscape changed from flat wastelands to jagged rock formations and deep ravines, remnants of some ancient cataclysm that had scarred the planet's surface. And that's when she saw it, the ruins of what must have been a magnificent structure, now half buried in the sand. Massive stone pillars rose from the earth, etched with symbols that seemed to shimmer in the starlight. An ancient temple, forgotten by time. Ryla approached cautiously. The settlement elders spoke of such places with warning in their voices, remnants of the old civilizations that had inhabited Kazira before the Zentaur came. But they also said something else, that the temples were the only places Zentaur scanners didn't reach. Something in the stone itself interfered with their technology. Right now, that was exactly what she needed. The entrance loomed before her, a dark maw leading into the unknown. Ryla hesitated only for a moment before ducking inside. The egg clutched tightly against her chest. The interior was surprisingly intact. Moonlight filtered through cracks in the ceiling, illuminating a large central chamber with walls covered in faded murals. Ryla gasped as her eyes adjusted to the dim light. The paintings depicted massive winged creatures, dragons, soaring through star-filled skies. Some showed humans or aliens riding on their backs. Others showed the dragons breathing fire that seemed to consume entire worlds. "Is this your history?" she whispered to the egg, which pulsed with light in response, casting eerie shadows across the ancient artwork. She spotted a raised stone platform in the center of the chamber, clearly designed as some kind of altar. Remembering her grandmother's stories, Ryla carefully placed the egg on it. The stone beneath the egg began to glow faintly, responding to the egg's presence. Dragons only hatch when they feel safe. She recalled her grandmother's words, spoken during one of the many nights when the old woman would tell stories of the galaxy before the Zentaur. They choose their companions carefully, forming bonds that last lifetimes. Ryla settled on the floor beside the altar, watching the egg with fascination. Its pulsing had changed rhythm, becoming faster, more urgent. And now in the quiet of the temple, she could hear something else, a faint tapping from inside. "You're trying to come out, aren't you?" she whispered, leaning closer. "It's okay. You're safe here." But even as the words left her lips, a sharp mechanical beep echoed from outside. Ryla froze, her blood turning to ice in her veins. That sound was unmistakable. A Zentaur scanner. They had tracked her here. Panic threatened to overwhelm her, but Ryla forced it down. She looked back at the egg and saw that cracks had begun to form along its surface, thin lines of golden light breaking through the shell. It was hatching. Now, of all times, a heavy metallic thud sounded at the temple entrance, the unmistakable sound of Zentaur armored boots. They were here, and in moments they would find her and the egg. Ryla stood, positioning herself between the altar and the entrance. Her hands began to glow with the faint shimmer of her inherited energy, a genetic trait found in some Khazirans, usually too weak to be of any real use. But it was all she had. "If they want you," she said to the egg, her voice finding new strength, "they'll have to go through me first." The footsteps grew louder. Behind her, the egg's cracks widened, more light spilling forth. Ryla braced herself, heart pounding, as the first Zentaur trooper kicked through the crumbled remains of the temple door, weapon raised and pointed directly at her. The Zentaur trooper's face was hidden behind a glossy black helmet, but Ryla could feel the cold assessment in their gaze. Behind the first soldier, 3 more appeared, their armor gleaming in the moonlight streaming through the temple's broken ceiling. "Civilian!" The lead trooper's voice was mechanically distorted. "You have entered a restricted zone. Identify yourself immediately." Ryla's throat went dry. Her hands, still glowing with her feeble energy, trembled slightly. "I'm just a scavenger. I got lost after the sunset and found shelter here." The trooper's head tilted slightly, the helmet's sensors clearly scanning the chamber. "Our readings detected an unidentified energy signature. What is behind you?" Before Ryla could answer, a blinding flash of light erupted from the altar, accompanied by a sound like cracking thunder. The troopers staggered back, raising their arms to shield their visors. Boom! The egg burst open in an explosion of fire and light so intense that Ryla was knocked to her knees. Heat washed over her in waves, yet somehow it didn't burn. Instead, it felt like being embraced by a warm breeze on a cold night. When she could see again, Ryla turned and gasped. Where the egg had been, a creature now stood on the altar. It was roughly the size of a small dog, with scales that shifted color like molten metal, reds and golds rippling across its surface. Translucent wings, far too large for its body, unfurled like sails made of light. Its head was triangular, adorned with small, backward-sweeping horns, and its tail ended in a spade-shaped tip that flickered with energy. But it was the eyes that captured Ryla's attention, golden with vertical pupils that seemed to contain entire galaxies within them. Ancient eyes. Knowing eyes. The dragon's gaze locked with hers, and Ryla felt something brush against her mind. Not words exactly, but feelings, curiosity, recognition, and something else. A question. "Who are you?" the trooper demanded, breaking the moment. His weapon was now aimed squarely at the newborn dragon. "What is that creature?" The dragon turned its head toward the Zentaur soldiers, its body language shifting instantly from curiosity to threat. It crouched low, wings spreading wider, and a low growl emanated from its throat, a sound that seemed impossible from such a small body. One of the troopers laughed, the sound harsh through his helmet. "That? That's your weapon? Some kind of exotic pet?" The lead trooper stepped forward. "Whatever it is, it's coming with us. Empire scientists will be interested in—" The baby dragon opened its mouth, revealing rows of needle-sharp teeth. For a split second, Ryla saw a glow building at the back of its throat. Then a column of plasma fire, pure, concentrated energy, shot forth, striking the lead trooper's weapon and engulfing his arm. The gun melted instantly. The trooper screamed, staggering backward, his armor smoking and partially liquefied. "Hostile contact! Target is hostile!" Another trooper shouted, raising his weapon. "Target is—" Before he could finish, the entire temple trembled. Dust and small stones rained down from the ceiling. The dragon's wings unfurled further, impossibly large now, spanning the width of the altar. It rose up on its hind legs and roared. The sound was not the screech of a newborn creature. It was the roar of something ancient reborn, a sound that carried the memory of stars being born and galaxies turning. It resonated through the temple, through Ryla's bones, through the very ground beneath their feet. The troopers stumbled back, their discipline broken by primal fear. One fired wildly, the energy bolts striking the wall beside the dragon, leaving scorched craters in the ancient stone. The dragon inhaled, its chest expanding, preparing to unleash another blast of fire. "Wait!" Ryla cried out, raising her hand toward the creature. To her astonishment, the dragon stopped. It turned its head toward her, those ancient eyes questioning. In that moment, Ryla felt the mental connection between them strengthen. Not just emotions now, but impressions, images. The dragon was asking her what she wanted it to do. "Don't kill them," she said softly. The dragon tilted its head, clearly confused by this request. More impressions flooded Rayla's mind. Images of danger, of threats that needed to be eliminated. "Please," she added, "just make them leave." After a moment's hesitation, the dragon lowered itself into a crouch. Then, with deliberate slowness, it turned its gaze back to the troopers and released a warning growl that made the temple stones vibrate. The message was clear. "Go now, or the next blast won't miss." The troopers backed away, dragging their injured leader. "This isn't over," one of them warned, voice shaking despite the mechanical filter. "The Empire will know about this." When they had disappeared through the entrance, Ryla sank to her knees, suddenly exhausted. The dragon turned to her, its aggressive posture melting away. It approached cautiously, moving with a grace that belied its newborn status. When it reached her, it butted its head gently against her hand. Warmth spread up Ryla's arm and through her body, and with it came a clear thought that wasn't her own. "Friend?" Ryla smiled, heart pounding with a mixture of fear and wonder. "Yes," she whispered. "Friends." The dragon made a sound like a purr and climbed onto her lap, its weight surprisingly light. It curled up against her, its scales cooling from molten orange to a deep, contented blue. She stroked its head gently, still scarcely believing what had happened. "You're not a weapon," she told it softly. "You're a miracle." In response, the dragon's purr deepened, vibrating through her like the engine of a starship preparing for flight. Dawn broke over the ruins, painting the ancient stones in shades of gold and amber. Ryla hadn't meant to fall asleep, but exhaustion had claimed her sometime during the night. She awoke to find the dragon perched on a fallen pillar near her, watching her with those impossibly old eyes. In the morning light, its scales had shifted to a silvery blue that complemented her own skin tone. As soon as it noticed she was awake, it leapt from the pillar and glided to her side, wings spreading gracefully to slow its descent. "Good morning to you too," Ryla said, smiling, as the dragon butted its head against her hand, seeking attention. She obliged, scratching behind its horns, which elicited a sound of pleasure. Around them lay the evidence of last night's confrontation. Scorched stone, a puddle of melted metal that had once been a Zentaur weapon, and boot prints in the dust leading back toward the entrance. Ryla's smile faded. "They'll be back," she said softly, "and in greater numbers." The dragon looked up at her, and Ryla felt its response in her mind. Not fear, but determination, a willingness to fight. "No," she said firmly. "We can't stay here. We need to move, to find somewhere safer." Rising to her feet, Ryla assessed their situation. Her water reserves were dangerously low, and she had no food. The settlement was too far to reach without supplies, and besides, returning there would only put everyone in danger once the Zentaur came looking for her. Her only option was to go deeper into the restricted zone, into areas even the bravest scavengers avoided. As if sensing her thoughts, the dragon made a chirping sound and moved toward the back of the temple chamber. It looked back at her expectantly. "You want me to follow you?" Ryla asked, intrigued. The dragon chirped again, more insistently this time. Curious, Ryla followed as the creature led her through a series of smaller chambers, deeper into the temple complex. The walls here were covered in even more elaborate murals, dragons and humanoid figures standing side by side, facing what appeared to be armies of mechanical beings. "Is that the Zentaur?" Ryla wondered aloud, studying the images. "Were your kind fighting them even back then?" The dragon didn't respond directly, but Ryla felt a ripple of something like recognition through their mental link. They came to what appeared to be a dead end, a solid wall carved with the image of a massive dragon in flight. The small dragon approached the wall and placed one clawed foot against a particular symbol. To Ryla's astonishment, the entire wall began to glow, lines of light spreading outward from where the dragon had touched. With a low rumbling sound, the wall slid sideways, revealing a hidden passage. "How did you know that was there?" Ryla whispered. "You've only just hatched." The impression she received in return was complex, something about memories carried in blood, knowledge passed down through generations. The passage led to a small, perfectly preserved chamber. Unlike the rest of the temple, this room showed no signs of age or decay. Soft light emanated from crystals embedded in the ceiling, illuminating walls lined with shelves. On these shelves sat various objects, containers, devices, and what appeared to be books made of some thin metallic material. "What is this place?" Ryla breathed, turning in a slow circle. The dragon hopped onto a central pedestal and chirped, drawing her attention to a small rectangular object resting there. It looked like a data storage device, but of a design Ryla had never seen before. When she picked it up, the device activated, projecting a holographic image above its surface. A figure appeared, humanoid but clearly not human, with features that reminded Ryla of her own species, yet subtly different. The hologram spoke in a language Ryla didn't understand, but as the words flowed, the dragon touched its head to her arm. Suddenly, the speech became comprehensible, as if translated directly into her mind. "If you are seeing this message, then one of the eggs has survived and chosen a companion," the figure said. "I am Keelan, last keeper of the dragon sanctuary on Kazira. The mechanized ones, those you may know as the Zentaur, have found us. Our defenses cannot hold much longer." The figure, Keelan, looked tired, their eyes haunted. The dragons were not meant to be weapons, though their power can be used as such. They were guardians of balance in the galaxy, maintaining the cosmic equilibrium until the Zentaur's lust for control upset everything. Keelan's expression softened. "The hatchling with you has chosen you, formed a bond that transcends mere companionship. Through this bond, both of you will grow stronger. Protect each other. Learn together. And when the time comes, find the other sanctuaries. You are not alone in this fight." The hologram flickered and disappeared, leaving Ryla standing in stunned silence. The dragon watched her, its gaze steady and somehow reassuring. "Other sanctuaries?" Ryla finally said. "Other dragons survived?" The dragon didn't confirm or deny, but Ryla felt something like hope emanating from it. She looked around the chamber with new eyes. "This isn't just a temple, is it? It's a safe house, a resistant space." Moving to the shelves, she examined the containers and found they held preserved food, water purifiers, medical supplies, everything needed for survival. The devices appeared to be communications equipment, scanners, and what might have been weapons. They prepared for this, Ryla realized. They knew someone would come someday. The dragon chirped in what sounded like agreement, then suddenly went still, its head turning sharply toward the passage they had entered through. A low growl rumbled in its throat. Ryla didn't need their mental link to understand. "They're back, aren't they? The Zentaur?" The dragon's scales shifted to a deep crimson. Confirmation enough. Quickly, Ryla gathered what supplies she could into a bag she found on one of the shelves. Food, water, a small device that looked like it might be a weapon. She slipped the holographic message into her pocket. "Is there another way out of here?" she asked the dragon urgently. In response, the creature leapt from the pedestal and scurried to the far wall, where it pressed its claws against another symbol. A section of the floor slid away, revealing a narrow staircase leading down into darkness. Distant shouts echoed from the temple entrance, more troops than before by the sound of it. Ryla knelt beside the dragon, meeting its golden eyes. "I don't know where this leads, but we're in this together now, right?" The dragon butted its head against her cheek, and the feeling that flowed through their bond was unmistakable. Trust, loyalty, determination. "Then let's go," Ryla said, rising. "The galaxy may have forgotten about dragons, but it's about to remember." With the dragon leading the way, its scales glowing softly to light their path, they descended into the tunnel, leaving the sanctuary behind just as the sound of armored boots echoed through the temple chambers above. Chapter 5, Rebirth. The tunnel stretched on for what felt like hours, winding deep beneath Kazira's surface. Ryla's legs ached and her lungs burned from the increasingly thin air, but she pressed on, following the dragon's glowing form ahead of her. Finally, the tunnel began to slope upward. Fresh air, or at least fresher than the stale atmosphere of the underground passage, wafted down to meet them. "Please tell me we're almost there," Ryla gasped, pausing to take a sip from her water container. The dragon chirped encouragingly and increased its pace, its excitement palpable through their bond. When they finally emerged, Ryla stood in amazed silence. They had come out in a vast canyon hidden between towering cliffs, a place completely invisible from the air. A small stream trickled through the center, feeding a pool of clear water. Vegetation, actual living plants, a rarity on Kazira's surface, grew along its banks. But what truly took Ryla's breath away was the structure built into the cliff face, a complex that dwarfed the temple they had fled. Its architecture was similar, but this place was intact, undamaged by time. "Another sanctuary," she whispered. The dragon bounded ahead, clearly familiar with this place despite having never physically been here before. Ryla followed, her fatigue forgotten in the wake of her wonder. Inside, the sanctuary was a marvel of ancient technology and art. Vast chambers were connected by corridors lined with murals telling the history of dragons and their companions. Some areas were clearly living quarters, while others seemed designed for study or meditation. In the central chamber, they found a platform similar to the altar where the dragon had hatched, but much larger. When the dragon approached it, the entire platform illuminated, and a three-dimensional star map appeared above it, filling the chamber with pinpoints of light. Specific stars glowed brighter than the others, forming a pattern across the galaxy. "Are those the other sanctuaries?" Ryla asked, approaching the map cautiously. The dragon chirped, and through their bond, Ryla felt confirmation. More than that, she felt purpose, a mission that had been waiting for thousands of years. "They're waiting," she said softly, understanding flowing through her. "Other eggs, other dragons, scattered to keep them safe." The dragon climbed onto her shoulder, its weight warm and reassuring. Together they studied the map, memorizing the locations of the sanctuaries. A soft chime suddenly echoed through the chamber. The dragon tensed, but not with fear, with alertness, expectation. A section of the wall slid open, revealing a hidden compartment. Inside sat a sleek silver object, shaped somewhat like a teardrop. As Ryla approached, it began to hover, rising to eye level. "Is that a ship?" she asked incredulously. The dragon chirped excitedly, and images flooded Ryla's mind. A vessel designed specifically for a dragon and its companion, capable of interstellar travel and cloaked from Zentaur sensors. "They really did think of everything," Ryla whispered, reaching out to touch the ship's smooth surface. It was cool beneath her fingers, but she felt a subtle vibration, as if the vessel were alive in some way. Another compartment opened, revealing what appeared to be a suit of armor, form-fitting, made of the same material as the ship, sized perfectly for someone of Ryla's build. "For me?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. The dragon hopped down from her shoulder and approached another platform, this one smaller than the star map. When it placed its clawed foot upon it, the platform glowed, and a holographic image appeared, different from the message in the temple. This time, the figure was clearly one of Ryla's own species, though dressed in armor similar to what had just been revealed. "To the one who has been chosen," the figure said, their voice solemn yet hopeful. "If you are seeing this, Then the last phase of our plan has begun. The Zentaur believe they have won, that they have extinguished the dragons, and with them, the last hope of a free galaxy. They are wrong. The figure gestured, and the image changed to show multiple dragons, each with a companion, standing before what appeared to be a Zentaur war fleet. For thousands of years we have waited. Scattered across the stars, hidden in plain sight, the dragon eggs have remained dormant, waiting for the right companions, those with the courage and heart to bond with them. You are one such companion. The hologram looked directly at Ryla, as if seeing across time. The journey ahead will be dangerous. The Zentaur have ruled unchallenged for too long, but you are not alone. Find the other sanctuaries, awaken the dragons, rebuild what was lost. The message ended, the hologram fading away, leaving Ryla and the dragon standing in silence. They planned this all along, Ryla said finally, her voice filled with awe. A resistance that would activate thousands of years later when the Zentaur least expected it. The dragon chirped, raising itself up proudly. And I'm part of it now, Ryla continued, looking down at her blue hands. All her life, she had been just a scavenger, struggling to survive on a conquered world. Now she was something else, something important. She approached the armor and ran her fingers over its surface. I don't know if I'm ready for this. I'm not a warrior or a rebel. I'm just me. The dragon climbed back onto her shoulder and pressed its head against her cheek. Through their bond flowed confidence, trust, and something else. A memory that wasn't hers. It showed the first dragon riders, ordinary people who had risen to extraordinary challenges. You think I can do this? Ryla asked. The dragon's response was immediate and powerful, absolute certainty. A distant rumble shook dust from the ceiling. The Zentaur were getting closer, probably using heavy scanning equipment to detect the underground tunnel. Decision time. Rayla took a deep breath and reached for the armor. It was surprisingly light and molded itself to her body as she put it on, as if adjusting to her specific measurements. When the helmet sealed in place, displays lit up before her eyes, showing information about her surroundings, the dragon's status, and the ship's systems. Okay, she said, her voice sounding stronger through the helmet's filter. Let's do this. The dragon leapt from her shoulder and glided to the ship, which opened a hatch in response. Ryla followed, settling into a seat that conformed to her body. The dragon took a position on a raised platform beside her, and immediately Ryla felt their connection strengthen, as if the ship itself was amplifying their bond. Controls lit up, responding to both her touch and the dragon's mental commands. The ship rose smoothly from its compartment, hovering in the center of the chamber. Above them, a section of the ceiling began to part, revealing a shaft leading up to the surface. Do you know how to fly this thing? Ryla asked, only half joking. The dragon's response came as a mixture of confidence and mischief. It did know, or at least it had the inherited memories of how such vessels operated. Then let's go, Ryla said, placing her hands on the controls. We have sanctuaries to find. The ship rose through the shaft, emerging into Kazira's night sky, just as Zentaur ships appeared on the horizon, their searchlights scanning the wasteland. But they were looking in the wrong place. Ryla and the dragon were already above them, the ship's cloaking technology rendering them invisible to Zentaur sensors. As they accelerated toward the stars, Ryla felt a surge of emotions: fear, excitement, determination. The dragon pressed against her side, its scales now a deep, vibrant blue that matched the armor she wore. They thought dragons were gone, she said, watching her homeworld grow smaller beneath them. But now I have one. The dragon raised its head proudly, golden eyes gleaming in the starlight. And the galaxy will never be the same again. The ship jumped to light speed, vanishing in a flash of energy, carrying with it a young alien girl, a newborn dragon, and the first spark of what would become a flame of rebellion across the stars.